it's something we do, like 20,000 times a day? And we almost never think about it. But breathing, it's just one of the most incredible, complex, and honestly, vital journeys happening inside our bodies every single moment. So yeah, let's dive right in.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to wonder about it? What actually happens on the journey of just a single breath? From the second that air enters your nose to the moment it's fueling a cell, say, deep in your big toe, what's going on? It's a great question, and we're going to answer it.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to follow that breath all the way down the airways. We'll get to witness that critical swap of gases deep inside your lungs, see how they get shuffled around your body, and then uncover the amazing engine that powers the whole thing. Let's get started.
Okay, first things first. Before we jump into the how, we've got to understand the why. So why do we even breathe? The answer, and this is key, isn't actually in our lungs. Nope, it's way deeper, inside every single one of our cells.
All right, so here's the deal. Every cell in your body is running a process called cellular respiration. Just think of it like a tiny little engine. It needs oxygen to burn fuel, from the food you eat, and that's how it makes energy. But like any engine, it produces exhaust. In this case, it's carbon dioxide, and that stuff is harmful if it sticks around. So the bottom line, the whole respiratory system, the entire shebang, is built to solve this one problem. Get the good stuff, oxygen, in, and get the bad stuff, carbon dioxide, out. Simple as that.
So we've got the why down. Now let's get into the how. Let's actually trace the physical path that air takes, from the world outside all the way down deep into your lungs.
Okay, let's follow along on the diagram here. So air comes in through the nostrils, travels down the pharynx, past the larynx, and into this main pipe right here, the trachea, or windpipe. Now from here, the path splits. The trachea divides into these two primary bronchi, one for each lung. And once they're inside the lungs, they just keep branching out, smaller and smaller and smaller, almost like the branches of a tree, until they end in these teeny tiny tubes called the terminal bronchiole.
Now, this is a really important distinction to make. The whole system is basically split into two parts. Everything we just traced, from your nose down to those terminal bronchioles, that's what we call the conducting part. Think of it like a highway system. Its only job is to get the air there, to transport it, filter it, warm it up. But the destination, where the real action happens, that's the exchange part. And that takes place at the very end of the line, in these millions of tiny sacs called the alveoli.
And here we are. Our breath has finally reached its destination, the alveoli. We're talking millions of these tiny balloon-like sacs. Now this is the main event. This is the spot where oxygen finally gets into the blood, and that waste product, carbon dioxide, gets kicked out.
So, to really get how the swap happens, we need to talk about one key idea from physics. It's called partial pressure. Basically, the air we breathe is a mix of gases, right? Well, each gas in that mix has its own individual pressure. And here's the golden rule. Gases always move from an area where their partial pressure is high to an area where it's low. That's it. This one simple principle is the engine that drives everything we're about to see.
And this table just lays it out perfectly. Take a look at the numbers. The partial pressure of oxygen, we call it O₂, in your lungs is about 104. But check out the blood that's just arriving at the lungs. Its O₂ is only 40. That's a huge difference. And that pressure gradient is what literally forces oxygen to jump from your lungs into your blood. Now look at the CO₂. See that? It's the complete opposite. The pressure is higher in the blood than in the lungs, so the CO₂ has no choice but to move out of the blood and into the lungs so you can breathe it out. It's all about the gradient.
Okay, now watch this animation. Here you can see that pressure gradient doing its thing in real time. See that? Oxygen is moving across the membrane into the red blood cell while carbon dioxide moves out, and it happens ridiculously fast. Why? Because the barrier separating the air from the blood, this diffusion membrane, is just perfectly designed for this one job.
I want you to focus right here on the structure of this membrane. It's made of just 3 incredibly thin layers. We're talking a total thickness of way less than a millimeter. And that incredible thinness is the whole secret. It's the reason this gas exchange is so fast and so efficient. It's a perfect case of structure being perfectly designed for its function.
All right, so oxygen is now in the blood, and the CO₂ has been dropped off at the lungs to be exhaled. Now we need a delivery service, right? Let's take a look at how the circulatory system acts like a courier, transporting these gases to and from every single cell in your body.
Let's start with the waste product, CO₂. Now, a lot of people think it just dissolves in the blood, but that's not really the case. As you can see here, only a tiny bit is actually dissolved in the plasma.
The vast majority, a whopping 70%, gets converted into something called bicarbonate ions. That's how it travels. This is a really key point, and it's one that students often get mixed up on.
Now for oxygen, the story is way simpler, and it really revolves around one superstar molecule. Get this, about 97% of all the oxygen in your blood is carried by your red blood cells. Specifically, it's grabbed onto by a special protein inside them called hemoglobin.
Okay, this brings us to a graph that I'm going to tell you right now is one of the most important concepts in this whole topic, especially if you're studying this for an exam. It's called the oxygen-hemoglobin dissociation curve. And yeah, it might look a little intimidating, but it's designed to answer one really simple, really crucial question.
And that question is, how does hemoglobin know when to hang on tight to oxygen and when to let it go? The secret is in the S shape of that curve. Look, up on the flat part, where the oxygen pressure is high, like in the lungs, hemoglobin is super sticky. It has a high affinity, so it grabs on and loads up with oxygen. But then, look at the steep part of the curve. This represents your body's tissues, where there's less oxygen and more CO2. That extra CO2 actually changes hemoglobin's shape, making it less sticky. It loosens its grip and drops off the oxygen right where the cells need it most. It is an absolutely genius, self-regulating system.
Okay, so we've covered the why, cellular respiration. We've covered the where, the alveoli. And we've covered the how, gas exchange and transport. So, for the final piece of the puzzle, let's look at the engine that powers this whole thing, the actual mechanics of how we pull air in and push it out.
All right, look at the image on the left. This is inspiration, or breathing in. Watch the diaphragm, this big dome-shaped muscle at the bottom. It contracts and flattens out. At the same time, your rib muscles pull your rib cage up and out. All of that makes your chest cavity bigger. Now, look at the image on the right for expiration. It's the exact opposite. The muscles just relax, the chest cavity gets smaller, and the air gets pushed out. So let's just walk through breathing in step by step. 1. Your muscles contract. 2. This makes your chest cavity bigger. 3. Because the space is bigger, the pressure inside your lungs drops. It's now lower than the air pressure outside your body. And what happens when there's a pressure difference? You got it? Air rushes in from the area of high pressure, the outside world, to the area of low pressure, your lung.
So just how much air are we talking about here? Well, with a normal, relaxed breath, not a deep one, just a regular one, you move about 500 milliliters of air. This is called the tidal volume. And to put that in perspective, that's about the same as a standard bottle of water. Imagine that volume of air moving in and out every single time you breathe.
So when you really step back and look at the whole picture, from a big muscle like the diaphragm contracting all the way down to a tiny pressure gradient pushing molecules across a microscopic membrane, it's just a perfect symphony of physics, chemistry, and anatomy. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other automatic processes that we completely take for granted are going on inside of us with this much mind-blowing precision right this very second?